What's good, my lovely peoples? It's your main man Solace here, the humble servant of the life. Today was a beautiful, interesting day, man. One of your own, a Facebook supporter of mine, drove from Connecticut to New York City, came and checked me out on the land. Much knowledge was acquired. So I want to discuss some of the things we discussed. He acquired knowledge. I'm gonna pass some of what we discussed on. Now we was out there for about 3-4 hours, 2 hours maybe, 3 hours. So he acquired a lot, but I'm gonna break down some of the things to y'all. Now, one of the first things we discussed, I was explaining to him because as we was walking to my part of the land where I dwell at, we was walking and he was noticing how the land is marshy. So I was explaining to him the earth is not solid like we think. It is a yoke. And when I explain this to people, they don't grasp. And they're leaving out micro and macro. They are not applying this to their knowledge and their understandings. They just say it. So I was explaining to him how the earth is not solid. And you see how when you're walking, the ground is truly marshy. And the wetter it is, the more quicksand like it is. It's not truly solid. And it is only the concrete that men made that is confusing you from truly grasping that when I say the earth is a yoke for a man to truly grasp. So as we walk in, he's kind of grasping. So I broke it down to him. I said, you have sperm cells. Now these sperm cells are within the semen. The semen is a yolk. This is their world. If the sperm cell happens to leave the semen and come into our atmosphere in our world, it'll die. When it's going into a woman's vagina, which would be a different world, if it slips out of the semen, it will die. The acid of the woman's vagina will burn it up. It cannot survive in that world, only its world, which is the semen. Now that is the micro. Now on the macro, it is the same with us. Earth is our yoke. You have to grasp. If you leave Earth, the same things that happen to you as the sperm cell. That world, that environment outside of Earth will burn you up. You will die. You cannot be sustained out there. The water molecules are bigger than you out in space. So, how do you survive? The air molecules are bigger than you in space because you're micro. You can't breathe that. The air is bigger than your head. So it is just like the micro life within you. They cannot breathe our air. It's bigger than them. But they live within you and that is their world. Now, I know some of you are watching and you like to find contradictions. So you'd say, how is the earth yoke? And then before you said the earth is an organ within a being. You have to grasp in a whole of the life. You must apply micro to macro. Now, how can the earth be a yoke and an organ within a being? That's contradicting. Now grasp. You are a living being. You have a brain and organs and things within your body. They have fluid and yolk within them and all around them. So the innards of your body is fluidy and yolky. You know this. Now, you have microcell living life, living within the organs and places within the body, within the yolk. But it probably doesn't appear that way to them because they are micro in comparisons to it. Now, it is the same with you in the earth. The solar system is a living being, a person. Grasp. The sun. The solar system is a living being. The sun is the brain. The planets and things are the organs and the innards of the body. And you live on the organs or one of the innards of the body. And it is yolky, just like the innards of your body. And this is how you survive. It's just like the sperm cells was in the semen on the micro. You was a sperm cell within semen on the micro, and you got an egg. And everybody you see did this. So everyone you see is magnificent. They are the one sperm cell out of the many that got an egg. They were in the semen. That was their world. And that was the micro. And now on the macro, you still have the same. We are still like sperm cells within the semen, but just on a macro. So you must grasp the life in a whole to understand there's no contradictions. You are just not grasping in a whole. You have to pull from the life. Now, another thing we discussed, because a lot of people believe that the life started in Africa with black people. But this is wrong. There's too many holes in that theory. See, if the life started black in Africa, then how did you get other races? Everyone should be in black African. But you don't have that as the case. Now, some will say, well, people migrated out of Africa and this is how you got other races from the change of climate. But we know in today's times you have black people in different places of the earth and they haven't changed. You have black people in China. They've been there for millennia. They're still black people. They're not Chinese. They didn't change. So this doesn't correlate with the life. It is being adjusted to make sense, but it doesn't make sense. Now, I said the life started in the waters. Albino. This is opposite of black in Africa. But there's no holes in the albino. Because if you say, well, how did you get all the races out of the albino? You have to grasp. All races are already within the albino. A black man who is an albino is still a black man. He has black man features. A Chinese man who is an albino is still a Chinese man. He has Chinese man features. So you have all races already within the albino. The albino is not a race. It is the complexion of the skin. So grasp. Some albinos are black, some are Chinese, some are whatever race they are. So you don't have to ask how did you get different races from the albino, because you see different races in the albino now. So this is how you know there's no holes in that. It is solid. And any other questions you may have, it will be the same. We must grasp the difference between the imitation of life and what life truly is. This is why you must go to the land and learn and acquire knowledge in its entirety, in the whole. When I say I learned from the life, y'all think like nature, in this thing, in that thing, in this dimension. I am speaking of the life in a whole, whether cosmic, meaning up above, or the micro, meaning the small micro life within a person. This is all the life. All of it is the life. From the microist to the macroist. And all life is within the life. You're a living being. You have living life within you that is micro in comparison to you. You are a living being. So the earth has to be a living being, because only life sustains life. You can't put micro cells in a soda can. They'll die. The soda can is not a living being. The micro living life only sustains itself in you because you're alive and you're a living being. And the only reason you sustain yourself and you're alive is because earth is a living being. And earth is sustained because it is within the life, which is a living being. And this is the life and the dimensions of it. So when I say I learned from the life, I believe in the mighty all. I am speaking of the life and the living of it in its microist to its macroist. I am tapped into the life. So therefore I can learn from it. I've read over 10,000 books. They never make sense completely through. So it wasn't fulfilling me enough. But when I learned from the life and I tapped in. See, y'all are tapped into what y'all are tapped in. Y'all tapped into the latest gossip. Y'all tapped into the latest television shows. There's thousands of television shows. You know them all. You know how to work the iPhone from its ins and outs. You're tapped into that. So when I say I am tapped into the life, you must look at it from a real level. Like voodoo, I am tapped into the life. I submit myself to the life and the living of it. I understand that the micro is within the macro, and it is all living beings. The life is within the life. So at the pinnacle of the life, you have a living being, which would be the mighty all. I dedicate my spirit to the life. I am tapped into it, so I can grasp all things easy. The more you understand a thing, the easier it is for you to explain it. So you just must grasp. I am not saying I know all out of ego in these things. I am tapped into something that y'all can be tapped into. But you won't submit yourself because you want to be all over the place. And you truly think you can learn from men in their books. And this is why you are whatever age you are and you still don't fully have things making sense in your mind, because they don't. It's too many holes in them. So we just must grasp, man, the life is simple. Very simple. And the brother Jonathan Torres that came out to the land to see me, he acquired so much knowledge. Hopefully he applies it. It's your main man Solace.